People say New York teaches you to mind your business, but that morning proved the opposite. The scream that sliced through the air was so sharp it felt like it could cut steel. Even before I turned my head, I knew the sound came from someone who believed the world owed her obedience. And as fate would have it, she had chosen the worst possible target, my daughter. The January wind clawed down the open-air platform of the 125th Street station, sending newspapers flapping like panicked birds. Morning commuters trudged past each other in that familiar half-awake shuffle. Somewhere under the tracks, a train roared like a wounded animal, gears grinding through old snow. My daughter, Ava, 15 and soft-spoken but stubborn in all the ways that mattered, had been on her way to school. I had been off duty, grabbing a rare quiet moment with a cup of burnt station coffee. And then came her, HOA Karen. That is what the online world would later call her. But in that moment she was simply a furious stranger in an expensive beige coat, hair sprayed into an architectural feat of defiance, and an expression that radiated irritation like a heat lamp left running too long. I did not know her name yet, but I recognized the type instantly, the kind of woman who weaponizes entitlement like others wield pepper spray. My cup hit the concrete before I even registered the decision to move. The coffee exploded in a perfect brown bloom at my feet as I dashed toward the commotion. At first, all I could see was Karen's finger jabbing millimeters from Ava's face. You think you can shove past me and get away with it? Say sorry. Say it properly. Her voice echoed with the kind of pitch that makes every vertebra in your back vibrate. A few commuters paused, unsure whether to intervene or pretend this was normal. Others pulled out phones with the reflex of people trained by years of viral clips. Ava's voice trembled but stayed steady enough to make me proud. I didn't shove you. You stopped suddenly and turned around. You bumped into me. The truth, simple and clean. But some people don't believe truth unless it flatters them. Karen narrowed her eyes. Are you calling me a liar? That is exactly the kind of disrespect kids like you think you can get away with. Not with me. I won't tolerate it. Say sorry. Something in me cracked at that tone. Not anger. Not yet something older. Something that came from every parent who has ever heard their child spoken to like they are a problem instead of a person. I kept walking, slow, steady, controlled. But inside, the deputy chief in me had already begun cataloging. Stance, distance, potential threats, crowd movement, exit routes. She still hadn't noticed me. She didn't notice much of anything except the sound of her own outrage. A tall man in a construction vest stepped forward. Ma'am, the girl didn't. Karen snapped toward him. Did I ask you leave us alone? He backed off, palms raised. People still underestimate the violence a certain tone can carry. Ava's cheeks were flushed red, but her spine stayed straight. I'm not apologizing for something I didn't do, she said. Those words were gasoline. And Karen loved fire. You kids are ruining this country. No manners. No respect. Where are your parents? Right here, I said. Karen froze. The shift from screaming to silence was almost poetic. She turned slowly, expecting, I assume, another teenager or maybe a weary adult she could steamroll. But she came face to face with me. Her face did something fascinating then. Crumpled, rebuilt itself, then rearranged into a smile that felt like an apology wearing a cheap Halloween mask. Oh, I didn't realize. Is this your daughter? Yes. Well, she should really learn. Before she finished, I lifted my badge. Not flashing it with force, not performing. Just presenting. Deputy Chief Martinez, NYPD. The temperature of the entire platform dropped like someone had opened a walk-in freezer. It took exactly 3 seconds for Karen's bravado to melt. 3 seconds for the crowd to exhale. 3 seconds for my daughter to understand that she was safe. I might as well have detonated a firecracker at her feet. Karen blinked rapidly, her confidence unraveling into threads. I didn't mean any trouble, she said quickly. Really, I was just trying to teach her manners. Kids these days need guidance. You understand. I stared at her for a long, heavy moment. In my line of work, silence is a tool sharper than any blade. The train arriving alarm sounded in the distance. A mechanical voice announced delays. But everything else around us faded into a blurred hush. Ma'am, I said finally. I watched the whole thing. Karen's jaw twitched. Then she tried a different tactic. Well, your daughter bumped into me. I could have been hurt. You turned around on a crowded platform while walking, I replied. That's how collisions happen. Nobody hurt you. But you escalated. You threatened a minor. My minor. That's not something you walk away from with excuses. Her eyes widened. I didn't threaten her. I was just asserting myself. You know how some kids behave. Ava shifted beside me. I put a gentle hand on her shoulder. Karen kept talking, digging deeper, unaware that every word she spoke was another foot she placed into her own grave. And frankly, your daughter should be more careful. At her age, she should know better. I was simply correcting her behavior. I couldn't stop the humorless laugh that escaped me. Correcting her, Karen nodded eagerly. Yes, of course. As adults, I raised a hand, and she went silent. Ma'am, let me ask you something. If she was my officer's kid, would you still have spoken to her that way? The question skewered her. She swallowed hard. Tu didn't know she was your daughter. Exactly, I said. A beat of silence hit. Then another. Around us, phones continued recording. Karen finally noticed the crowd. Really noticed. For a moment, her face was a neon billboard that flickered between rage and panic. Oh my God. Stop filming me, she snapped. This is harassment. I can sue all of you. Someone in the crowd muttered, Good luck with that, lady. Karen spun back toward me, voice pitched in desperation. Deputy Chief, please understand. I'm a respectable person. I volunteer. I donate. I respect isn't something you list, I said. It's something you show. She opened her mouth, but I wasn't finished. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to step away from my daughter. You're going to leave this platform. And you're going to think very carefully about how you speak to minors in public. Are you? Banning me from the platform? No, ma'am. I'm telling you to walk away before this becomes an official incident. Trust me when I say you do not want this documented. Her face contorted in a silent tantrum, the kind that usually ends with someone yelling for a manager. But there was no manager here. Just me. She turned sharply, muttering under her breath. Something about disrespectful kids. Something about nobody understanding her. Something about people ganging up on her. She pushed toward the stairs, nearly tripping over her own indignation. The crowd parted. Some people rolled their eyes. Others shook their heads. Ava exhaled shakily. You okay? I asked. She nodded, though she was still trembling. I didn't push her. I know, sweetheart. You came fast. I smiled. You screamed first. She blinked, then laughed through her fear. Dad. The tension diffused into a thin mist that drifted away with the winter wind. But what neither of us knew then was that this was only the beginning. Because Karen did not leave quietly. Karen never left quietly. And the consequences of that morning would come back loud, messy, and catastrophic. For her. Not for us. But for now, all we had was the cold, the fading echo of a confrontation, and the uneasy calm that follows storms that promise to return. The next 48 hours unfolded with a strange, simmering quiet, like the air before a thunderstorm. I should have known better. People like Karen never retreat, they reload. And though I had seen her walk down those station steps shaking with humiliation, part of me believed maybe, just maybe, she would sleep it off, complain to a friend, yell at a barista, and move on. But entitlement does not move on. It festers. It was a Thursday evening when the first sign of trouble arrived. I was sorting through a stack of reports at my desk at the precinct, the fluorescent lights buzzing like angry insects. The winter sun had already dipped behind the buildings, painting the city with the kind of gloom that seeps into your bones if you let it. My partner, Ortiz, was telling a story about his dog knocking over a lamp when my phone vibrated with a notification. Unknown number. One single text. You should be ashamed. A uniform doesn't give you the right to bully civilians. I frowned and opened the attached image. My stomach dropped. It was a photo taken at the train station, cropped to show only me standing between Ava and Karen. The angle made me look like I was looming aggressively, hand raised as if I were threatening her. The caption underneath read, Deputy Chief abuses power to intimidate innocent woman on public transit. I cursed under my breath. Ortiz raised an eyebrow. Bad news. Someone's trying to start a fire. He leaned over as I showed him the text. You recognize the woman, unfortunately. Ortiz whistled low. Well, looks like she recognizes you too. I didn't say what I was thinking, that this was only the start. Within 10 minutes, more messages poured in, some insults, some threats, some pretending to be concerned citizens demanding an explanation. My social media was being tagged with edited clips, screenshots, and wildly inaccurate summaries of the incident. The narrative had twisted itself into a neon-lit circus. Apparently, according to the internet, I had screamed at a harmless woman, brandished my badge like a weapon, and traumatized her. The words traumatized and assaulted popped up more than once. It would have been laughable if it didn't involve my career. I grabbed my coat as I stood. I need to handle something. Be back. You want backup? Ortiz asked. Not for this. I headed out into the icy evening, jaw tight. The train station wasn't far, and part of me hoped she hadn't returned there to stir up more chaos. But I wasn't going to the station. I was going home, because if this storm was coming, I needed to check on Ava first. As I approached our apartment building, I noticed two things immediately. The lights were off, and the hallway outside our door smelled faintly of motor oil. Strange. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. Ava was on the couch, curled up with a blanket and her laptop open in front of her. The glow illuminated her face, and I saw panic etched into her eyes before she even spoke. Dad. Her voice wavered. I sat beside her. Show me. She hesitated, then turned the laptop toward me. And there she was. Karen. Front and center in a shaky cell phone video, hair impeccably styled despite her faux distress. A carefully curated backdrop probably. Her living room framed her like a martyr preparing for sainthood. She spoke directly to the camera with the gravity of someone delivering a eulogy. I want to share something that happened to me recently. She began, voice trembling with rehearsed fragility. I was verbally attacked by an officer of the NYPD. He abused his position, intimidated me, and frightened a platform full of witnesses. All because I dared to stand up for myself. My jaw clenched so tight my teeth hurt. Ava looked down. Dad, people from my school are reposting it. Of course they were. Teenagers love drama the way plants loved sunlight. A beat of silence passed. I reached toward her and closed the laptop gently. Listen to me. None of what she's saying is true. And you did nothing wrong. Ava nodded faintly, but I could see fear lingering like smoke behind her eyes. Did she show your badge number? She asked. A spike of dread shot through me. I hadn't even thought to check. I reopened the video, fast-forwarded. And there it was. A freeze frame of me holding my badge. The image was grainy, but the numbers were unmistakable. Great. Perfect. A recipe for chaos. Ava whispered, Dad. Are you in trouble? I forced a steady breath. Not yet. And not if I handle this right. But my words did little to ease her worry. That night, sleep evaded both of us. Ava dozed off eventually, but I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every angle of the confrontation. Every word Karen had spewed. Every reaction from the crowd. And the fact that someone had filmed only the parts that made me look like the aggressor. By morning, the story had spread. Not everywhere. Not citywide, not on major news outlets. But enough little corners of the internet had latched onto Karen's dramatics to form a dangerous ripple. Enough to threaten my job. Enough to harm my daughter. When I arrived at the precinct, Captain Reynolds called me straight into his office. He was a broad man with a calm demeanor and eyes that could read guilt like a lie detector. Martinez, closed the door. Never good words to hear. I sat. He leaned back in his chair and exhaled. So, want to tell me why the internet is blowing up with your name because a woman who thrives on attention found a new playground? I said. Reynolds cracked a humorless smile. I figured as much. He clicked his computer screen around to show me a compilation someone posted. A dozen short clips stitched together. Every one of them framed me as some sort of tyrant. Reynolds rubbed his temples. This is the world we live in. One accusation, and suddenly we're all monsters until proven otherwise. I nodded. But I also knew he wasn't here to lecture me on public perception. He was here because the department wanted answers. Look, Martinez, he said, lowering his voice. Off the record, I believe you. On the record, I need you to file a full report by tonight. Internal Affairs will want statements. And until then, keep a low profile. Low profile. Right. Easy enough except that Karen wasn't finished. Because she posted again. This time she doubled down, claiming emotional distress, anxiety, fear for her safety. She'd even managed to tearfully declare she might press charges. And she wasn't alone. A handful of her online supporters, people who didn't know her, didn't know me, didn't know the truth, were parroting her story as gospel. The comments made my blood boil. Then the unexpected happened. Someone uploaded the full video. The entire unedited recording from the moment Karen spun on Ava to the second she stomped down the stairs. No cuts. No distortions. No manipulated narrative. It spread quickly. And, finally, the truth had teeth. The The comment section flipped almost instantly. So she was yelling at a kid that officer barely raised his voice. She's lying. Lady needs a hobby. My personal favorite. Karen took a swing and whiffed so hard she spun into another dimension. But victories on the internet are never clean, because the full video only enraged Karen further. And that's when the letters began. 3 typed, 1 handwritten, all slid under our door within 24 hours. 2 accusing me of harassment, 1 claiming a lawsuit was incoming, and the last written in a sweeping, almost theatrical cursive said, "You humiliated me. Now I will show everyone who you really are." I stared at the page long enough that the letters blurred. Ava saw it over my shoulder. "Dad, she knows where we live." I folded the note carefully. "She won't come here," I said firmly, but I wasn't sure. And that uncertainty curdled in my gut like spoiled milk. That evening, I set up a camera near the peephole. Ava watched silently, hugging a pillow to her chest. "Do you think she's dangerous? Dangerous, no," I said. "Reckless, yes. And sometimes that's worse." I didn't like saying it. I didn't like her hearing it. But lies only protect children from the truth until the truth kicks down the door. At midnight, my phone buzzed again. A notification, but not a message. A video tag. My heart thudded as I opened it. The clip was short. 7 seconds. Shaky. Filmed from a distance. But unmistakable. Karen, outside a cafe, talking animatedly to a group of people, pointing at her phone, and on her screamy face. She wasn't backing down. She was recruiting. I felt something shift inside me then. A line being drawn. A boundary hardening. This wasn't online drama anymore. This was escalation. I stood, grabbed my jacket, and said, "Ava, go to your mom's for the night." She blinked in alarm. "Why, what's happening?" I forced a steadier tone. "Nothing's happening. This is precaution. That's all." She looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. Once she was safely out the door, I took a breath, braced myself, and headed back into the frozen night. Because if Karen wanted a war, she'd chosen the wrong battlefield. And the wrong opponent. She didn't know it yet. But her story was about to break apart, piece by piece. And she would be the one holding the shards. The next morning began like a warning disguised as routine. Frost coated the windows. The city hummed with its usual indifference. And I walked into the precinct with a simmering tension lodged beneath my ribs. I had spent the night alternating between reviewing the video evidence and replaying every word Karen had said, trying to predict her next move. But what happened next? Even I didn't predict that. The moment I stepped through the precinct doors, every pair of eyes lifted. Some curious, some sympathetic, some whispering silently, "Here he is." I caught snippets of hushed conversations. Nothing clear, but enough to confirm what I already knew. The storm had reached headquarters. Without pausing, I went straight to Captain Reynolds' office. His door was half closed, light spilling through the narrow crack like a strip of interrogation room glare. I knocked once. "Come in, Martinez." He didn't sound angry. That was worse. Angry was easy. Calm meant something had escalated. He looked up from a manila folder thick enough to be concerning. "Sit." I did. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Karen filed an official complaint this morning." Of course she did. She's alleging harassment, abuse of authority, and threatening behavior. She also claims you intimidated her into leaving a public space. I almost laughed. Intimidated her? She had practically tried to bulldoze my daughter into apologizing for breathing too loudly. Reynolds continued. "She came in person, brought 2 people with her claiming to be witnesses." Witnesses? Right. Probably the same 2 strangers she had been ranting to in that sidewalk video. But the captain wasn't done. She also submitted a formal request for an internal investigation. I leaned back. She moved fast. He nodded grimly. And very loudly. I exhaled slowly. "All right. What's the next step?" Reynolds tapped the folder. "You give IA your statement. Full detail. No shortcuts. Then we review all the footage available, including the complete video that surfaced yesterday. And then..." He paused. I knew what came next. "Then we wait." Waiting. The quiet killer. Cops fear waiting more than confrontation. But I nodded anyway. After leaving his office, I headed straight to the IA department, an uncomfortable place even when you're innocent. Fluorescent lights too bright. Walls too bare. The kind of atmosphere that makes even your breathing feel suspicious. The investigator assigned was a woman named Brooks. Sharp eyes, calm demeanor, not easily swayed by theatrics. Good. I didn't need sympathy. I needed clarity. She motioned for me to sit. Everything you say is recorded. Understood? Understood. I gave a full account. Start to finish. No dramatic embellishments, no omissions. The facts were already on my side. I didn't need to dress them up. Brooks listened without interruption. When I was done, she played the full video. The platform confrontation unfolded again, Karen's shouting, Ava's restraint, my approach, the calm tone I used, the clean instructions. When the recording ended, Brooks leaned back. For the record, Deputy Chief, this does not align with Karen's version. No kidding. She closed her notebook. I'll contact the other individuals who filmed this. We'll compile every angle. For now, you're cleared to work, but advised to avoid any contact with the complainant. Gladly, I stood, ready to leave. But the door swung open, and there she was. Karen. Hair perfect. Coat pristine. Expression sculpted into a victim's mask so artful it could have been painted. Her eyes widened when she saw me. Oh my God, why is he here? She clutched her chest dramatically. I feel unsafe. Your session will begin after. Karen stepped aside, glaring at me like she expected me to combust under her gaze. You think you can hide behind that badge forever? She hissed. I stopped walking, turned, and said quietly, I don't hide behind anything. She scoffed loudly, a theatrical sound meant to fill the hallway. We'll see. I walked past without another word. People like her only win when you give them more stage than they deserve. Hours passed, a slow drip of waiting and paperwork. Eventually, I went home, exhaustion clinging to me like wet fabric. But as I climbed the stairwell to our apartment, I noticed something immediately. The smell. Smoke. Not fire. Not burning. But something heated. And chemical. My heart snapped to attention. I sprinted the last 3 steps and froze. Our door was completely covered in thick, black permanent marker. Slurs. Insults. Threats. Every inch vandalized. Across the center, the largest word screamed. Corrupt cop, liar, abuser. A coldness sank into my bones. Ava's voice floated from behind me. Dad. What happened? I spun. She stood there, backpack still on, her face pale. I swallowed hard. Go downstairs. Call your mom. Now. She didn't argue. She knew by my tone this wasn't negotiable. Once she was gone, I pulled my phone out. Reynolds answered on the second ring. Captain, someone vandalized my door. His response was immediate. Stay put. I'm sending a unit. When the patrol officers arrived, they photographed everything. Cataloged every word, every angle. They found plastic gloves discarded near the stairwell and a marker cap. And security footage told the rest. Karen, walking into the building, talking to someone on her phone, standing at my door, writing, laughing. She left after 10 minutes, strolling out like she had just delivered a package. The officers exchanged looks. One muttered, that woman's unhinged. I didn't respond. Words would have been too weak. Reynolds called an hour later. We're filing charges. She crossed a criminal line. You're off this case due to personal interest, but rest assured it's being handled. For the first time in days, relief flickered inside me. But it died quickly, because at 9 p.m., the building fire alarm shrieked. I grabbed my jacket and bolted down the hall. Smoke thin, gray, unnatural was leaking from the trash chute room. Ava visiting her mother for the night was safe. But others weren't. I kicked the door open. A small fire burned in the corner, pile of scorched papers, and something plastic melted beyond recognition. Someone tried to start a fire in my building. A fire. And among the ashes? Part of a printed photo of me and Ava at the park last summer. My blood chilled. This wasn't random. This was targeted. This was escalation. Again, the fire was extinguished quickly, but my resolve hardened like steel cooled too fast. People like Karen don't stop until someone else makes them. And I was done playing defense. The next morning, I met with Brooks again. She looked more alert than usual, as though she had anticipated this. I showed her the fire footage, the vandalism, everything. Her expression sharpened. We will issue a restraining order today, and she will be arrested for vandalism and attempted property destruction. This is no longer a civil complaint. This is criminal behavior. Finally, the system was catching up with her. But before the paperwork could even be completed, the front desk called up. Miss Karen is here. She's demanding to speak to command and refuses to leave. I felt the air around us crackle with incredulity. Brooks sighed. Bring her in. I want this documented. Minutes later, the door opened and Karen stormed inside. Not fragile. Not terrified. Fuming. How dare you file charges against me, she screeched. I am the victim here. This is police retaliation. Brooks stood. Miss Karen, please take a seat. Karen slammed her palm onto the desk. I will not sit. I know my rights. And I know he is behind this. He's punishing me because I spoke out. Brooks's tone remained icily professional. Miss Karen, we have video evidence of you vandalizing his residence. Karen blinked. Shock rippled across her features, but only for a heartbeat. Then she straightened, chin high. I know exactly what it feels like. Our eyes locked, and for a moment just a sliver something inside her trembled. Like she saw, for the first time, that the destruction she spread didn't fall into a void. It hit real people, real lives, real consequences. But it vanished as quickly as it came. This is your fault, she whispered. You embarrassed me. You made me look stupid in front of your daughter. You humiliated me. And people laughed. Brooks stood. That's enough. She signaled to the two officers waiting outside. They entered. Karen pushed her chair back. Wait, what are you doing? I'm not done yet. I have more evidence to show. You can't do this to me. I'm the one who's been wronged. I'm Miss Karen. You are under arrest. Vandalism. Harassment. Filing a false report. Attempted property damage. Trespassing. You have the right to remain silent and no, you can't arrest me. I'm the victim. I'm the victim. Her screams bounced hard off the office walls as the officers cuffed her. Her voice cracked into something desperate, something primal. People like her crumble fastest when the consequences finally arrive. As she was let out, she twisted toward me. This isn't over. You'll regret this. Everyone will know what you are. I didn't respond. Some battles don't need words. The story didn't end with cheers or applause. Real life rarely does. The charges held. The full footage was released publicly. Public opinion flipped so hard the internet practically bruised itself. Ava returned to school without whispers following her. Kids apologized for sharing Karen's video. The principal called me personally. And the precinct? They backed me. Brooks's final report stated clearly, Deputy Chief Martinez acted within appropriate professional conduct at all times. Complainant demonstrated a repeated pattern of malicious behavior. As for Karen, court ordered community service, mandatory counseling, a restraining order, and a record she would carry for a long, long time. Not revenge, just consequences. A week later, I stood with Ava at the same train platform where it had all begun. Morning light spilled across the tracks, warm for once instead of cold. She looked up at me. Dad, do you think she'll come back someday? I placed a hand on her shoulder. Maybe. Or maybe she'll finally learn something from this. Ava hesitated. What if she doesn't? Then she'll face the consequences again. A train screeched toward us, its doors sliding open with a gust of winter air. But this time, the moment didn't feel like a threat. It felt like closure. Ava stepped inside. I followed. And the city moved on. Loud. Unpredictable. Brutal. But sometimes when justice lands where it should, it feels just a little more human. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.